Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Stock Analysis Friday. It's great to have you be here on this July 18th, 2025. All right, I'm going to go through some administrational items in just a second, but just for those new here, feel free to type in any stocks you want me to look at or ETFs and type those in caps. Let's do 3 per person. And also tell me if you're long or short. That way I can tailor what I'm doing here specifically for you. So that's kind of the customization. Also realize that I'm going to go through some administrational items on risk control and all that kind of stuff. So please be sure to use risk control in each and every trade. So let me go ahead and get started with that and hit the books first. We'll do the books. Well, we'll do the disclaimer first. So first thing I want to talk about here are the risks involved in trading. I want to let you know that anytime you trade the financial markets, whether investing or trading, there are risks. And I think you probably all know that, but just make sure you're trading with money you can afford to risk. Run everything we talk about here past your financial advisor or whoever manages your money. Because if we pick something, I say I like it, it may or not be suitable for you personally, and they know your personal situation. I don't. So definitely run that by them. And then also, too, if you need help with risk control, I've got several books available on that. I'll put a link in the recording, or you can go to our website to check those out. But the 2 that are really good are the ones on the bookends, Money Management for Traders and A Trader's Money Management System. My new book is out, The Art of Trading, 608 pages, and we'll put a link in for that as well as the other books too. In terms of software, we use the Applied Reality Trading System software, which consists of basically 4 indicators and the ART software itself. So that's the ART, AL, PTF, TLM, and ERI indicators at the top. We have risk control software as well. And then, of course, we have scanners too. So all that's available. And again, I'll put that in a link below for you. All right, give us a like before we get going, and then let's get going. All right, so a couple things here to cover. Markets have done fairly well. I think we're probably going to get a pullback on most markets here pretty soon, but it should be a minor pullback, nothing major. So I'm going to start out with Al here, who's first in line here. Let's take a look at CCJ for you and bring that up. All right. So you are thinking of a long position. All right. So what I would do, Al, in this is I'd probably wait. It's gotten a little bit too far away for a safe entry here. In other words, it's overextended. Let's wait for the pullback. Okay. You got several areas that it could go to under $60 if it pulls back, or even 65. So I think it'd be worth waiting on that one. Okay. So let me just put your picks back up here. Let's take a look at EQT. And we've looked at this one before. And EQT kind of getting close to its target here. So again, I wouldn't chase it, okay? And then PA, you know, if you're long in any of these, you can stay long. But if you're thinking about going into them, it's a little late, okay? And then on this one here, okay, this one here looks to me like, again, probably going to pull back a little bit. If you were trading this, you could fill that gap or at least come close to it. So I would kind of hold off on those, okay? Let's take a look at your next batch here, which is NEGG. All right, so you were in this a few days ago. All right, let's see. I would say probably you have a tendency, I would say this would be a tendency to go higher. We've seen it once before and it didn't. Look at this, okay? However, normally when you get a big price bar like this, normally you'll get more highs following that. Not unusual that it consolidated a little bit, but you have both PTFs, which is our indicator here, on both the daily chart here and the weekly, are both green. So that indicator has a 75% probability, and it's telling us more all-time highs are coming on that. So I would stay with that. We may have seen the worst of the consolidation, and it may move directly up from here. So since you're in that, I'd stay with it. Okay. Again, you know, when you have these big price bars like this, I don't know exactly where you got in. You said 2 days ago, so maybe just before the big price bar came up. So always, if you enter after a big price bar, you have to lower your trade size. All right, trade size is everything because that's part of the risk control formula in this game. So make sure you always adjust your trade size. And if the volatility is really high based on large price bars like this, lower that trade size. Then you're not going to sweat it so much. Okay. All right. And another set for you. Okay. EN, you must be our biggest fan. ENOV. Okay. Let's check that out. All right. So this one here, you're short. Okay. Or thinking about it short. And I probably would not do that. All right, we've got yellow PTFs now. We're kind of at an area where we're kind of looking it may be channeling and basing here. All right, so even if it went down a little bit lower, I think you missed the biggest move to the downside already. So I would probably not do that. Let's take a look at WAT. All right, this one here does have a red PTF, so that's a good sign. But again, here's the thing. When that PTF is red, you take the lowest low in that red area. And that's just the price bar from 3 days ago, right? So that's a 280 and we're at 289. That's a small profit target based on the PTF. So the next question is, where is this thing going to end up going? And at this particular point, if you went short, you're going to have to put your stop way above 360. So about 360.79. So not above 360, but 360.79 right there. And then you want to make sure you get at least double that. So again, it may come down here, but this is a short candidate, but again, it would have to really be in a major wave for it to get enough profit for you to make that risk to reward worth it. So, you know, it could get down. It might go down to the 200 mark down in here based on the weekly chart. That's possible. All right. But you have to have your stop up here to give it enough room. So, yeah, I would say out of all the ones you showed me here, this is a trade that a little on the risky side because we have a gap that it could fill on the both the daily and the weekly, but it could be heading down quite substantially from here. All right, so you know, I'm not going to recommend it as for everybody, but if you want to take a flyer on that, go ahead. All right, WOLF. All right. I would be looking at this more for a long trade, not a short trade. And what I'm liking about it is the quadruple bullish divergence on the weekly, the green owl on the weekly and the daily, and the fact that we're getting possibly, let me just get this up here like this, a bullish pyramid here. So I think it's a little premature to go long, but I'm going to put this on the watch list for a long trade, not a short trade. Okay. And I'd wait. Now let's take a look at it next week, but probably if it can get above that pyramid there, then there's some good chance for it. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Thank you, Al. Good job. All right. Ed, how are you? Let's see what we got cooking here. All right. I think you're the next one up. All right. CLF. Whoops. All right. Somehow I got my pointer screwed up there. All right. CLF. Let's see what we got here. All right. There we go. All right, so let's see what we got cooking here. Potential buy, all right. Looks good on the weekly chart because it looks like we've come down, and I think you see a turnaround. I just want to see if we took out equity here. Pretty close. Not quite. Okay, so we didn't quite take equity out. I would like to have at least taken that equity out. Okay, so we got a nice bounce though off the bottom. We broke structure here. ABC. Here's the way I think I would play this. I think it's actually okay for a long position. And if you went long, I would probably wait and see if it can break this high here again. And then put your stop under here. Got a lot of gaps here. So I'm a little concerned about going in right now in case it does one of these and then goes like that. Because here's a gap it could fill right here. So I would prefer it to come down to this area here and stop. And then see if that holds. Because this is a fair value gap, and then go long here. Okay. You technically don't have a bullish pyramid here. All right. And that may produce one on the next leg up. The other thing you could do is put a buy above here. And that would be a situation where you're getting in on the breakout. So again, you want to put your stop, I think. No matter what you do, I think actually your stop's got to go under here at this point, okay? It's got to go under that fair value gap back earlier this month. Okay, so right around under this price bar here, okay? So that's kind of how I would play that. All right, let's take a look at your next one here, and that's OKTA. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, so I like this for a PTF trade. In other words, it's setting up here for, here's the PTF high. All right, so this is saying basically there's a 75% probability we're going to break this high. So this would be what we call a PTF target. All right, I'll put TZ there. All right, now the next thing I want to see here is if we broke equity down here, and we did not. And that's the only issue here is we could come back down and take out equity because we have a very small bearish fair value gap. So we'll see if we can get above that or if that causes a reversal either today or next week. Okay. That's the only concern I have with that. Now, if you wanted to go long here and not worry about any of that, you need to put your stop substantially lower than that red line. So right around in here. So I would put it right around the 79 mark or so. Okay. That's how I would play that. And it should get up here. What we're trying to do is just put your stop at a place that's going to allow you enough room in case it comes back down. And if you look at the risk here, you've got a 2-to-1 risk to the PTF target. So that would be acceptable. Okay. And then the other thing to do is see if it pulls back. Now, if it closes, really important, closes above that grade bearish fair value gap box I drew, then you could go long then too. Okay, so that would be another situation. So you can either wait, try to get a little bit better price, go in now, or wait until they get above it. But that would be a viable long trade. Okay, so that would be OKTA. So I think I'm going to put that on the buy list as long as you can remember. Everybody can remember. Get your stops right around the 79 area. Okay, good one. All right, KMX. All right. Okay, so let's see here. Might have a double bottom forming here. It's too early to tell. We want to see it bounce off here before and get above this bearish fair value gap here. Okay, if it does that, that's a good sign. You can go long. Let's hold off on this. Let's put this on a watch list, because by next week, even if it gets above here, you'll have plenty of time to get in for the next trend up. But at this particular point, let's see if this double bottom holds. It may go down further, okay, and break the equity. So I don't think I would do anything at this point unless it goes above that braid area that I drew on the chart, okay? All right, thanks, Ed, good. All right, Al is back with BZAI. All right, let's take a look at this one here. All right, I like the breakout. I don't like the red PTFs. So my rule of thumb here is that when I have a red PTF, I'm a little skeptical of overriding that. So, you know, and look, it's only been open since February. So could we get a 50% retracement and have it go to 9 and double your money? Sure. All right. I mean, if you drew fibs in here, you certainly have that possibility. But it is not, let me get rid of the right one here. It is not a guarantee, of course. All right. So, and now you've got a big gap in there. So you'd have to put your price 50%. You'd have to put your price down here at $2, which is 50% away from current prices. So I don't think I would do this one. Okay. Leave it at that. All right. QS. All right. So QS poised to make higher highs on the PTF. And again, the ideal entry would have been on this pyramid here with a stop under here, obviously. So now you're kind of chasing the market a little bit. Not saying it's going to go, not going higher, because this is bullish, this is bullish, this is bullish. And you do have a beautiful fair value gap. So that was sweet on that. That occurred back here as well. So that would have been a nice entry off here. That would have been ideal. So now you're up quite a bit from that initial possible entry. So my concern is a pullback. All right. In a situation like this, I would wait for this to come back and start filling these fair value gaps. I don't know if it'll fill all the one down here, but sometimes they come all the way down. But at least, even if it goes a little higher, be patient. See if it comes back and fills that, and then you can start buying here, and then you put your stop below here, okay? So let's put this on a watch list. I actually really think this could be a good trade in a little bit, but I don't want to chase it. I wouldn't recommend chasing it, okay? All right, Ed, MU. Let's take a look at Micron here. All right, so you're up 20%, great. All right, so it looks like we're going into these pullbacks here. And this is kind of like what I'm talking about by not chasing markets. So some of those, Al, that you showed me were straight up like this. And even though they're probably going to go higher, you may have to suffer this before it does. That's the problem, okay? So let's take a look here and just run this off here. So Ed, I'm thinking this is going to pull back between 105 and 89, okay? So, you know, that's probably a good possibility. I don't know if you want to hold it through that or sell it, maybe some of it now, buy some back in, but it does look like it's going to eventually make more highs. I say that with confidence because of the fact that this is green, this is a 3, 4, 5 underway. So it looks probably like we're in the pullback of 5. Probably come down to this fair value gap here. You have structure here. So I don't think it's going to go below 90. All right. I think you're probably exactly where this fib retracement is probably where it's going to go. So this would be a buy zone. All right. And then when we finish this move down, we'll draw a fib extension sell zone. Okay. So I'm going to let you decide how you want to play that, but it will probably come down possibly, anywhere from, like I said, 105 to about 89.78. Okay. So you want to put your stop, if you're going to stay with it, put your stop way under there. Okay. I just don't know what your trade size is and what you want to do with that. You could also you could lower your trade size here if you wanted to and take some off the table. So that's how I would kind of play it. Now, the other possibility with this is that 15% of the time wave 4s end right where they are now. Okay, that's between 23.6 and 38.2. So that's the only case for holding on a little bit in case we get a new high. But we do not have a red owl yet on that's down here, on this. So this would not be a wave 4 currently. You have to have a red owl for it to be a wave 4. So it's got to get in here. So I'm pretty confident we'll get into that fib retracement area. All right, so let's take a look at your next one, Shop. Okay, so we looked at this last week. All right, you're up 60%. I think we were kind of saying stay with it. A little bit of a pullback there, but we'll redraw this trend line a little bit and take into account that since we have new highs now. So I would just stay with this as long as you can. You got a pyramid hard stop here, but you'd be stopped out on a trend line before that. All right, and it's got to close below the trend line. Okay. So I'd probably stay with that one. Okay. And AP, and just remember, you're never going to get out at the top and we never get in perfectly at the bottom. Okay. So if you're going to let your winners run, you've got to let them run. But that means that you can't take profits just because it's making a new high. You got to, keep with it. And eventually it does make a turn and go south. And that's where you get out. So you're never going to get out at the very, very high. All right, Sue, let's see what we got here. APLD. All right, potential buy. All right, so it came off a nice bottom here. We got a nice bounce out here. Let's see here what I can see. All right, so big gap down here. Look at this, it filled the gap. So I'm liking that. All right, so gap here. And we'll draw that here, cross there, and there. So it hit that gap and it turned around. Now we got a bearish price bar, or at least an indecision price bar up there, but we have green PTF. So we may get a little pullback. You had a bullish, another bullish on this leg up. So we may pull back here. So let me draw that. But this is a buy, okay? I'm liking this, and I'll give you a target on it in just a minute. So here's the thing. If you were to go in now, which you certainly could do, all right, make sure your stop is under this price bar. Okay, see that long green one that formed? Or even maybe the indecision bar back in here. What we've been seeing happen a lot lately is that when they fill these gaps, they don't partially fill them a lot of times. They come all the way down. So you got to give that enough room by putting your stop here. So I'm saying this looks good for a buy. Even if it pulls back, just have your stop low enough because your profit potential is enough to do that. And if we draw the fib extensions in here, let's see where, let me just get this a little better here. Okay. Trying to figure out where to anchor that number 2. I'd say probably right about here. Okay, there to there. Let's see if we hit there. So your target's going to be about 15 3/4 up to almost 20. All right, so you got enough target potential, and the PTF target potential is right below the target. So I'm pretty certain this is a good one. I am going to put this on my buy list. Nice job. That's a really good one. Okay. Just make sure that stop goes below. And I'll draw it in again here at the red line. Let's make sure that stop goes right at least there. Okay. So a little under what? I'll tell you in a minute. So 9.60 is the low. So I'd put it about 9.49. Okay. Give it a little room. Okay. And that should survive any short-term pullback. All right. Good one. Thank you. Excellent. All right. Al is back with Remax. REMX. Let's take a look. And you are long. Well, that's a good one to be long, Al. All right, this was a nice breakout. Hopefully, Al, you got in really early off that pyramid, even on the weekly chart. So not bad. Stay long. Okay, green PTFs now. You've got the Al just turning bullish on the weekly chart. Yeah, you'll probably get a pullback because on the weekly chart here, you've got and the daily chart, you've got a really nice bullish gap. All right, so that was really nice, and you may come down to that eventually again. But since you're already long, you could certainly stay with it. And that's it. Okay. I'm not going to recommend this for everybody because I would wait until it pulls back before going long. Okay. But for Al, since he's already in, I think that's really excellent. Okay. All right. So Stuart's back. Hey, Stuart. All right. CH. Little Schwab here. See what we got cooking. And then Coinbase. Okay, good. Yeah, Coinbase is, I think, entering its target, if not already in it now. I was just looking at that. Okay, so Schwab, you're long on these. All right, our PTF is neutral, so that doesn't help us any longer. So, Stuart, this is kind of a little bit of a bearish setup on that bar there. But we did not take out we took out the equity here. Look at that. Okay. So if you look here, all right, you took out equity and got a reversal, but the volume was not that super big. So probably a pullback with more highs here, I would think. And that's that. But let's just see here. If you wanted to protect some of your profits on this one, let's see what a trend line would do for us on this one. Because you got a pyramid hard stop here, but I'm thinking maybe stay with it. And if we dip below that trend line, take some profits. Okay. All right. So let's just see COIN. And this is in the target here, starting to get a little bit of, we've taken out all the highs here. So it's still fairly bullish price bars, even on the weekly chart with the green PTF. So you probably want to stay with this one. Hard stop under the pyramid. And again, all right, on some of these here that are in a micro channel, you can draw a trend line like this. Now, here's what I'll say on this. When you get a micro channel like this, most of the time, it's got another high, even if it pulls back. All right. That's just the way micro channels present themselves. So you're probably, even if you get a pullback here, have more highs coming. So you could stay with it. You could take some money off the table when you break that trend line, but you'll usually have one more hook to the upside, so to speak. Okay. All right. So I'd put maybe a scaling out below the trend line, okay, on both those. But you're in the target for sure in coin. All right, let's keep going here. All right. And let's see, roast, short. And let's see how Roth stores are looking here. Okay. For me personally, I don't like to short unless I have a red PTF. That's just part of my rule base. Okay. And I don't have it here. And we could be setting up for a double bottom here on this pullback. And let's see what we got cooking here. All right, so you got a red owl there. That's good. That's good. You may be going into a wave 4 for sure. That's certainly a possibility. Trying to see, you've got some structure here. I think probably if that gray area on the weekly chart holds, because that basically is a combination of structure and order block. Straighten it out a little bit. So that could be a potential target if you went short. So we're talking 120. But where's your stop? Stop's got to be pretty high up, and that's the problem. Probably at least on this pyramid of 145. So your risk to reward might not be so great on that. I probably would not do this one. Okay. All right, let's move on here. And Ed's got RDW. RDW. Let's see what we got there. All right, potential long. All right, let's see what we got cooking. So we had a nice pullback. Pullback ended, and then it shot up. We had this bearish price bar kind of at the top here. Anything with a long wick that goes into a fair value gap and reaches structure is usually a trend killer. So that pulled it back. All right, and then we filled this fair value gap here, almost hit the structure here, bounced off that green PTF. All right, so the question here is, and there's not a lot of history, it goes back to 2022, which in stocks is not that much. So really the question is, are we going to break this high? Are we going to make a new high? Well, this is saying we should break this high here. So that is what the PTF is saying. So that is a good sign. Then the question is, are we going to break that high? And this came down a little too far for a wave 4. So that's my only concern with that. So again, if I was shooting for the top of this, then I draw, let's say we went long right here. Okay, my stop would have to go somewhere either here or here. And if this is my first target, well, the risk to reward is not that great on that one. However, if it's up here, it's really good. So what you could do is take it, draw a trend line, and see if you can get up there before the break in the trend line, or maybe we get another pyramid form here, and so forth. You probably, I think if it was me doing this, okay, we've got a fair value gap here and one way down here. I think I'd wait for a pullback. Okay, I think you got one here that would have been okay, but I don't think I would do this one. It's not a slam dunk. Okay, let's check out your other one, MDB. You know, this would be like a B trade, and if you're only looking for really good A trades, then you'd pass on that one. All right, so this here, again, PTF here. We've got some pyramids here. So on this one here, double bottom, that's a good sign. Took out equity, I believe, down there. Close to it. All right, and we have a green PTF here. It's a little messy for me, okay? If I were to trade this, I'd have to use the weekly chart and put my stop below this double bottom, okay? But we did not take out equity, I don't think. And that is, I would have liked that to take out equity because I could see it also. See, it's got a very bearish. I'm going to say no on this one. And the reason for that is that we have a very bearish fair value gap right here that we're in right now. So a lot of times when you do not take equity out, all right, prices reverse, go get equity and then go up, okay? So I'm saying no on this one. If it had taken out equity, I'd be a little different. And I'd probably even wait for it to get above the gap area here. Okay, let's see what's going on. Okay, that might be it for now. Let's take a look at NVIDIA real quick, because this is one we recommended a while ago, and I think it's in the target zone now, okay, but it's in a micro channel. All right, so here's NVIDIA up in the mic. So when you have a micro channel like this, again, all right, usually you'll get a pullback, a little sideways motion, and then one more push up. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. The video is probably going to go up a little further. We do have a green PTF as well, but that's a short-term target there. So I'm thinking a little higher highs, pull back, more highs. And where is the pullback going to be on this? Well, we have a fair value gap here, sitting right on top of all this structure here, but you also have one down here, okay? So there you have it. And if you further isolate this into a fib retracement, I think you're probably maybe right around this area here could be the next pullback before it again makes more highs. That's what I'm thinking on the video. So, you know, if you want to draw a trend line like I have on this micro channel and scale out some and then go back in with the scale out amount, you could do that, or keep it until we finally get the next high. And then on the next high after the pullback I would take that seriously as a place to get out. But so NVIDIA has done very well. Tesla is another one I want to look at here, because Tesla kind of was bouncing around, did not take off like NVIDIA did, but it has filled some of these gaps and went down to structure, and I'm liking that. And we have a green PTF. So I think at this particular point here, where I want to put my stop is under this price bar here. I'd probably put it under this series here, okay? And I think probably I'm going to put this down as a buy. Now, a couple things here. To be really safe, you should put it under here, your stop, okay? Because I could see it coming down, taking equity out, and then going. That is always a possibility. The problem is I don't think you have the risk to reward as good as if you put the stop here. So give it a little leeway under here. Go as low as you can so you have the risk to reward in the target zone, first half of the target zone, okay? But I like Tesla at this point, okay? All right, XRP, sure, XRP. Frank, how are you? Okay, let's take a look at XRP here. Oh, darn. Okay, hold on one second. Let me get my other platform up here. Give me 1 second. For XRP, we have to use a different platform. All right, give this a second to load here. All right, so let's see what XRP here. The crypto here. All right, so this is one, and this is a classic, okay? So came right down to this structure here. I want to show you this on this because I have a bunch of clients in this. And this was the structure buy area here, okay? When you have a bullish reversal bar with a long wick ending into the fair value gap and into structure, that's a go, okay? And now look what happened after that. So in this particular point here, all right, we broke out, made new highs, and I don't think it's over, but I also think we're seeing a bearish bar form here. So maybe a pullback into one of these fair value gaps areas. I think probably a pullback into this structured area at the very least here. And again, this is kind of turned into almost a micro channel. So in a case like that, you could draw this like this. All right. So usually when you get a pullback on a micro channel, what did I tell you? You get more highs. So we're probably going into that pullback phase with more highs coming. Okay. So this one, I would probably hold off on issuing a buy on this and wait for the pullback area and then do some fib extensions as well. Okay. So I think that's kind of where I would be on that. XRP. All right. Let's see what we got cooking here. Oh, hey, Brad, how are you doing? All right. Yeah, an ETF is coming. That's right, Frank. All right. And I think, is it, oh, Coin, we looked at Coinbase, right? I think we looked at Coinbase. Oh, if I could type it in correct. I think this was, Stuart, I think we looked at this for you, okay? But again, I want to just bring it up real quick again, because simply if you're in that one, stay with it, but you are in the target, okay? So that's the situation with that. Let's go quickly to Bitcoin and wrap it up here. All right, let me see, BTC, USD. This one I have on Coinbase. All right, Sue, all right, crypto. Again, all right, so you can also do the GBTC on this, which is the ETF for that. All right, so again, this is one where we had a buy area here. We actually, I think we're here live when we recommended a buy. And then we had a sell here up in this area here. So we're getting close to the sell area. Now, on Bitcoin, this would be a trader, what I would call a trader's sell. In terms of a situation, we're going to, when this tops here, we'll be at a top of a 3 here, and this will be a 5. So there are 5 waves inside 3, right? So this will be the 5th, and this will kill 3 here. Then we go into a fairly long-term pullback, which is wave 4, okay, on the weekly chart. Once wave 4 ends, then more highs up here. So if you're somebody that says, okay, I'm buying Bitcoin for the long term, you're going to be fine. You don't have to do anything except suffer through the next pullback. But if you hold it long enough, you'll be rewarded. Kind of like in stocks, when you have when you're young, you can, you don't have to worry about selling good stocks unless the management goes awry, but any pullback you use as an opportunity. Same type of thing here. If you're more of an active trader, you're going to want to sell here and then buy back here on wave 4, right? So this would be a buyback area. So it all depends on your time horizon. How long could wave 4 last? Well, wave 4 could last year and a half. So once we see the next final high on Bitcoin, you may not see it that high again for 2 years, okay? In terms of selling here, we're not quite there yet, okay? It's still moving up. And once 5 ends, then the trend changes on this time frame. So it almost like goes into a bear market here, but the bear market is only a wave 4 on the other time frame, okay? So I just kind of want to make that clear, because I know a lot of people hold Bitcoin. I have some, of course, but it depends if you're a short-term trader or a trader versus somebody, holding it super long-term, okay? So it all depends, but Bitcoin is the best coin to be in because it's the most stable at this point. However, in this move up, we're seeing basically all the cryptos, even the lower price ones, move up along with it. All right, so that's kind of my play on this. And I think the stock market is poised to make more highs as well. Brief pullback probably in the markets as well, and then more highs. And then at that point, we got to be careful about a pending bear market sometime out there, okay? But I think we're good probably for quite a bit longer, okay? So that's it for today. Thanks so much for being here. All right, let me just quickly go over some of these here for you to look at. So we've got OKTA for a long trade. We got APLD, which I think is the best one. And then Tesla, I think, is not a bad one too. On the watch list, we got Wolf, WOLF, KMX, and QS. So those are on the watch list. So listen, we'll see you back here next Friday. Thank you for coming and have a great week. Enjoy your summer. And I'll put a little music on and then we'll close the room. But you guys have a great one. Take care.